right.
Hello.
Hi.
But obviously, Susan Storm, in
The original, the
the
original, the
the
first.
OG, the first Susan Storm
Oh,
film,
gee.
and
Yeah.
everybody sings your praises because I heard you're the instigator of getting everybody's no the
You
original
know,
four, the cameo.
yeah, it's really fabulous how that it came about, you know. But I really have to give everybody credit because it's like I somewhat challenged my manager and told him. And, but I have to give credit to him because he put the call in. I have to give credit to Molly Doyle, who took the call and arranged the meeting and took the meeting and took it to, the guys, the producers, and to them who, were interested. And, they said, they kept trying to figure out how they could work us in. And then when the schedule opened up, so it really was a chain reaction of a lot of people
Yeah.
being interested and and doing their part. So I just kind of prodded the beginning, and it was a really fabulous surprise because at the time that I had the meeting with Molly, it really wasn't a possibility because they were already in London, they were already shooting, the script was locked. I mean, it was just technically impossible. So, again, that's Hollywood. Whenever anything happens, people are like, what did you think about this? What did you think about that? Well, at the time, you're never really sure if something's a big deal. Like, it just kind of seems like a regular day in the life. So it just seemed like another day in the life. And then cut to, this phone call that I got at the end of March that kind of turned everything into this. So,
And what an amazing thing it is, seeing because I was a fan of the 1994 film before the cameos. I've always been a massive Fantastic Four fan, so seeing you guys in a new film, I had to take a second and go, wait a second, is that? And then I realized, and it clicked, and I was so happy as well because the premiere photos that were going on they
yeah.
were just they're so lovely, and the photo that you have with Vanessa is such a lovely photo.
Isn't that it was just such a treat. I just became a huge fan of hers during The Crown.
Hmm.
And then subsequently had to see everything else that she was doing. And then when I heard, way back last year that she was playing Sue Storm, it was like this is going to be great. And then the fact that we got to be in it and I got to meet her and her reaction was so genuine and like so sweet. I mean, it just meant so much to me. And that picture, I have to give credit to Jay Underwood, who played our Johnny Storm, because he caught that moment. I mean, I just kind of
Oh.
stood there like seeing her face and feeling her, hold on to mine and say, and I was just in the moment. And then, later before the movie started, Jay taps me on the shoulder. He's like, look at this picture. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad you caught that. So he goes down for, my picture of the year.
And it is a wonderful picture as well because it's that moment where people start to think about the 1994 film. That you had fans for the past 30 years of it, and then with the premiere going on and with the original Fantastic Four, and everyone's like, "What?" And everyone's looking into it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's a film that was never released," and then they dive deep into it, and it's a wonderful thing because it's just the conversation of that hasn't
Yeah.
stopped, and I love that because it's the main reason why I want to do something like this and speak to the cast and crew because it's such a bizarre story, and I've said this to everybody, it's such a strange story, and it's one that I haven't really ever heard of it before.
Yeah. The fact that we're in this is nice because like we're constantly on the back burner. Like every time there's a new Fantastic Four, like ours comes
Hmm.
back to the front burner. But it's been really neat because it's like we've always had the people that knew and the people that loved it and the people that were waiting for something to happen. So now that it's kind of moved to the front burner, that people that didn't even know now know that it's just amplified exponentially, that it's just I was thinking out loud the other day, and it was like, the whole theory that energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Mm.
And energy that started 32, 33 years ago, when we did that, you go, you know what? It can't be burned. It
No.
can't be felt. It won't be forgotten. That you go, it's just been simmering all this time, and it kind of pops out and then goes back to simmering and pops out bigger and goes back to simmering. And so now it's really popped out bigger. And it's really nice to be a part of this film because I thought they did such a great job. And they were so complimentary when we were there shooting it because these the Marvel executives that chose
Yep.
to bring us into the Marvel fold at present day, we're very complimentary about our movie. Like a lot of people, when they write about it, they don't have the facts. They're like, "Oh, it was so horrible, it couldn't be released." Not true. There's just so many untruths out there that the people that I mean, it's really like the truth is stranger than
Yeah.
the untruth. So it's easier to believe the untruth, and you go, "Well, no, that's not true." What happened is the real story, and they were so complimentary because they just said there were so many things in your movie that we wanted to emulate. The family, the
Yeah.
fact that they worked as a team, and they said, we hope that we've done it justice because you guys really set the bar. And so we sort of stole the best of yours and tried to put it in ours, and we hope we do it justice. That it was complimentary, yet humorous. That because ours, it's a buddy film, and it's
Hmm.
a buddy film is a comic, but then in real life, it's become like a buddy story that
Yeah.
even just last night, Jay was texting all of us and we're all like texting back that we never would have thought then that 32 years later, we'd all still be friends and chatting. We didn't even know texting existed then. But, the fact that I mean, I literally just had dinner with Joseph Culp, who played our Doctor Doom. I just had dinner with him like 2 days ago. I'm having dinner again with him tomorrow night. It's like, we're all still really
Yeah.
friends. And yeah, so it's to us, it's always been a good thing. And so it's quite joyful to see and hear other people go, oh, what I liked about it was this. And, everybody realizes it was, ultra low budget. We had no time, no money, but we still made the best movie that we could within the restrictions that just happened to be,
Yeah.
like it's just always, it was a good experience for us then. It wasn't great that it never got released, but kind of the upside of it not being released is that it just stays alive.
Yeah.
So,
Because if it had been released, there would have been maybe there wouldn't have been this much traction. People might not spoken about it, and I wouldn't have amazing friends. Because it's so nice the fact that all of you are just still in contact, and it
oh
just
yeah,
it warms my heart. Joseph was the first person that I kind of had the pleasure of speaking with, and his passion for it, and when I first felt that, it made me go, you know what, this is a really special project. It's not
yeah,
just a Fantastic Four film, it's in a sense, it's been going on for 30 odd years.
yeah,
And there's this lovely documentary of, like you said, it simmering, popping up a bit more. And I'm hoping that it simmers enough that it pops out that much that people go, oh my gosh, we could do something about this. Marvel are aware about it. It's beautiful. It really is. It's a fantastic story, no pun intended. But it's one of these stories that's so bizarre. Like you're right, the false reasonings sound more believable than the actual reason of why it was never released.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's mental, but it's everybody's passion and love for the project, and then their passion and love for each other. Like the fact that you did a film 30 years ago and you're all still speaking and on talking terms, and it's lovely. And the way that you all speak about each other as well, that's such a heartwarming thing. Because there's not many casts ever in any film I
Yeah.
mean, in franchises, you don't get this kind of cast, but in a one film that was 30 years old, you've got lifelong friends. You just said you
Yeah.
had dinner with Joseph Culp and you're going to do it again.
My husband and I were down in New Orleans last fall, and the first person I found out, when I found out I was going to be even near New Orleans, like I call Oli right away, and I'm like, "I'm going to be in town. I'm going to be there this and this and date. I want to see you." And it's like the day after we arrived, we sat down with him in a restaurant, and it was one of those lunches that turned into, pre-dinner cocktails, and then like we probably sat there for like 5 or 6 hours, and there still wasn't enough time to catch up and get ahead, and see you next time soon. And yeah, like I wish we all lived closer together, we'd see each other more. But it's you know now that you've spoken to everyone, and that's something that I always talk about, and it's my question for you.
Oh, wow.
I think part of the reason that our film works so well, and maybe you can back me up, I always say how close all of us are in real life,
Yeah,
our characters. And now that you've spoken to everybody, it's like, do you see that? Like you can see
you
Reed
can.
and Alex, see Doom and Alex. You can see, oh my God, every time you talk to Jay, and like he's just he's like, and it's like we always really were kind of our characters, and since we made a movie about a comic book. Like we didn't really make a superhero movie, like the whole superhero thing didn't come on till, a decade or two later, that we were really just making a comic book that we were the characters. But I think since we're all so close to our characters, the reason that the characters were friends, is why we're all still,
Yeah.
like we're really, a team.
And you hit the nail on the head. Throughout all my interviews, I did say that when it comes to the film, it's like a comic book just being pulled off the page. There's no, it's a comic book film. It's a comic book family film. It's not a
Yeah.
superhero movie with explosions and aliens flying down and things like this. It's a comic book film. It's very faithful to the Kirby and Lee comic book series, and just like the new film, it has that kind of feel to it. And you're right. It's you guys being like your characters is something that's blown my mind. Not to say Joseph is definitely not some kind of person who's going to take over the world, but he's very theatrical and he's very dramatic,
Yes.
but in the best way. It's very like
Oh, yeah.
Shakespearean, and it's brilliant to see. Like I
Exactly.
said, Jay's very like all over the like a fire, like, poof, like and yeah, and it's such a lovely thing to see. And it's
Yeah.
brilliant because you can see these relationships, and I think you're right. I think that's why it works so well in the film, because those relationships weren't just people acting; it was real feelings towards each other. We're all in this same boat. We're all doing this film. We've got X amount of months, we've got X amount of money, and we got this.
It
This
was
is it.
X amount of weeks, not months. It was weeks.
It's weeks.
That Well, I mean, it really was like the epitome of collaboration, because that's the thing, is when you don't have the time and money, all you really have is each other. And, Craig as well, I have to say, um, because, with the script, I mean, we would constantly consult the comic book. It's
Yeah,
like, if we need to change the scene or condense this or la la la. We knew that we were making a movie for the comic book fans, that we never shortchanged their expertise. It's like we had to raise, our production
yeah,
to their expectation, because they know more about what we're talking about than we do. So we better make sure that we're accurate, and honor, their intelligence and their passion.
yeah,
And I think that that's also why ours seems somewhat timeless, because there kind of really isn't, other than the lack of effects, that nothing stamps it like, oh, 1992, that visually it looked like the comic book, so it's a little more timeless.
yeah,
and
yeah.
and I think that helps in its durability.
Yeah, because it feels like going up to like a bookshelf and grabbing an old comic book and just opening it up and reading it. It's a very classic Fantastic Four adventure. Doom's involved. And you've got the jeweler, and you've got this plot where Ben's going in, and Alicia Masters is there, and you've got this Doom being like a tyrant and being really dramatic and over the top, and it's brilliant. And I will say the costumes are phenomenal. I love those costumes. The big four on like the chest stomach area, you know.
Well, if you look close enough, you can actually see the stitching like
Yeah.
around the four. And I remember when I very first put it on, I'm like, you can see the stitching. And, our costume designer who physically made them by hand, he had the instant reply. It's like, well, Sue made them.
Thank you. I have one for you. And here's yours. It's flame retardant.
What's with the suits?
We are the Fantastic Four, remember?
Sue made them by hand. So, of course, it's not going to look like it's manufactured. Sue made this by hand. And so, if you can see the stitching,
Yeah.
it's more realistic. And you're like, all right, can't argue with that. So, and yeah, it was nice that we, out of all of the movies, like we had the royal blue,
Yeah.
which in the early ones, that was the
Their outfit
original.
at the time, yeah, with the white
Yeah,
collar and the white belt and everything. It's just it fits
and it
perfectly.
was.
I just and like the sets and the costumes and you guys, it just really makes it feel like we keep saying like a comic book. It's uncanny in a sense how realistic it is to pick up a comic book and start reading it. And it's a shame because as this series is about, I feel like people should be able to enjoy this because it is such a brilliant film. It's not just, a film that was never released. It's a film that was never released that should have been because it's really entertaining. It's faithful to the comics. As you said, you they took this expertise of comic book fans and went, right, this and this and this. And you can tell that there's a lot of love poured into it. So it's that thing
I
where it
just
should be
saw
loved.
I just saw it again the night after we'd been at the premiere
Hmm.
on July 21st, and there was a film group here in town in LA that, gets together and watches a movie once a month. And it just so happened that on the 22nd, they had picked our Fantastic Four. So they invited us. So I was physically there, but Joseph and Oli and Michael all zoomed in. And so we did like a Q&A first, and then I sat and watched the movie again. And I have to say, watching our movie on a big screen with external sound and an audience, it is a totally different movie. You go, it's a movie. Most people see like a bad either VHS on their TV from,
Yeah.
1994, or, a bad CD that they've just watched on their computer screen, or now people are streaming it just on their phones. But when you really watch it on a big screen with sound and with other people, I mean, it elevates it. And I was watching it, and I'm texting Oli during the movie, and I'm like, gosh, Alex is really good in this, and every, because there's a huge time gaps between when I watch it. I don't sit around and watch it all the time, but it's actually the more times I've seen it and the longer it's been since we shot it, it's like the better it gets. Because even the stuff that was kind of cheesy or corny just because we didn't have money is now just funny. Like it's heartwarming. It's not like cringy. It's just like, oh, that's so cute. So there's parts that, you cheer, you definitely laugh. There's parts that you get all kind of choked up about. It's, I mean, and most people never see it with other people on a big screen,
Yeah.
and it holds up.
It does. I can't. I have to agree with you there. It does really hold up as a comic book film. The effects. Yeah, they're not particularly like what you get in the 2025 film, but they're still great. The
Yeah.
thing suit is out of this world. It is mental how the thing suit looks. The stretching powers of Reed.
Here, take your own blood. Okay.
Is I love it
That's
because it is
like
that
my
fun
problem with
little
that.
it's that fun little stretching arm to grab the vial and like
Yeah.
the syringe and things. The invisibility works.
Miss Storm, you don't break things or explode into flames or anything like that now, do you?
No.
Good.
I I sort of
Miss Storm?
behind you.
I love the invisibility. You know,
I
the
know that works.
the two guys that start shooting each other just oh
I
yeah.
know a duck out of it and then they
Yeah.
bonk. You know,
But that's
it
the
works.
beauty of it, because it feels like you read, like I keep saying, it feels like you're reading a comic book, because these are the kind
Yeah.
of things that happen in comic books, you know. Sue going invisible, so two bad guys take each other out. That seems like it'd be ripped straight from a page.
Yeah. Well, you want to challenge anybody. It's like, okay, then go ahead with no time and no money. You figure out how somebody's going to. I mean, that was the hardest one. And, so that's, if people are going to criticize it, it's like, I don't know, well, then make a suggestion. Like, what is your solution? And I don't think anybody could come up with anything better. You know, at the
Yeah.
time, we did the best that we could with what we had. And yeah, like I said, it's unrealistic to begin with. Like, for people to expect it to look real, you're like, what? He's stretching. Like, what do you want? Like, there's no way that's really going to look real. I mean, even in, we just saw the new First Steps. I just saw it in 3D IMAX. And you have to say, you still have to suspend your disbelief when Reed stretches, probably more so than any of the other ones, the flaming and, Sue's force fill and even the thing. Like, the stretching is still, to me, you kind of go, yeah, okay. You have to go along with it.
Yeah.
It's not real, folks.
No. But the stretching effects, I don't think we've ever had particularly a bad stretching effect. I don't think personally, I mean, I'm a massive fan. I don't think we've ever had like a bad display of the powers. That's, I think we've always had, from 1994 to 2025, with each kind of film that's come out, I feel like we've got a strong, this is their abilities kind of thing. There's definitely been limits, there's definitely been limits. And I will just mention Vanessa Kirby's performance as Sue Storm. And obviously what happens in the film, I don't want to say just in case, but what happens in the film and that amount of power that she gives. And everyone's complaining, going, well, how did she do that? And it's like, she, something bad happens to her afterwards. Like, it's not like, oh, she just walks it off. She's used so much power for that. And I do have to say, 3D, I have to ask, with Galactus, how terrifying was he in 3D? Because he was scary in 2D.
What I liked about the 3D is it wasn't like coming at you, like you never flinch, or it's not like, oh, like something swimming right in front of you. It was 3D where you're just immersed. Like, it just felt more real. Like, you're not, 3D where it's claustrophobic. That's what I like, because I liked the 3D because I forgot it was in 3D. You're not taken out of it. If anything, it just sucks you in. And so it felt more real, like you're there instead of it hitting you in the face. So I think the 3D was well done because you somewhat forget about it because you're just there. I liked it.
That is good, yeah. I think sometimes 3D effects can be a bit overpowering, I want to say. Like, and when you watch it in 2D and you think, right, that's going to be the 3D part, because, like, I don't know, someone pulls a sword out and pokes it towards the screen, you're like, okay, that's going to be where the sword hits me in the face. But the fact that you said it immerses you more, and it's like you're being pulled in instead of it being pushed out, I love that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, the film blew me away. I had very high hopes going into it. You had a stellar cast. Matt Shackman being a director was mind-blowing. And he's a massive fan of the 1994 film too. With the new film, it's generated so much more love for the Fantastic Four. And they're such a brilliant superhero team. They're my favorite. I love them to bits. I followed their lives in a sense. Seeing the amount of love that they're now getting, I think the kind of the pedals started kicking when they were added to like Marvel Rivals, and you had the four of them then. The hype for the film was getting there, and then obviously the cameos, and everyone's just kind of divulging themselves, going, you know what? No, I really enjoyed the Fantastic Four, and it's great to see, because it means we get more Fantastic Four things, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, because it's always, like, it'll always be a piece of us. And so, its success, you kind of feel like parents in a way. It's like, oh, so it would be nice if there's opportunities beyond this.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like I always looked like Sue Storm. I still do. And so, hopefully there's, another opportunity for Sue somewhere, because, we were in this, but it's like, unless it's us, or if you blink, you wouldn't really know. I mean, it's great that we were there. But it would be, that's kind of the next, but that's anybody. Everybody, that's what life is. It's like, you're always, looking forward. So we'll see.
I gotta admit that the cameos were really well done as well.
Because when I first found out about it, and they said that they were gonna like shoot us in two different situations, that there would be one where we would just kind of be integrated, and another one where it'd be a newscaster. So the very first thing when I talked to wardrobe, I said, if it's at all possible, what I would love more than anything is to wear royal blue. It's just subtle, but it'll be more recognizable on screen, and the people that notice will notice. And it was so cute because wardrobe wrote back, and they're like, well, it's kind of a 60s theme, and like there's not a lot of royal blue in 1960s. It's all orange and yellow and avocado, and I'm like, I know, but it was so fabulous, because then when I showed up for my fitting, there's a whole rack, and like it was all royal blue, and I'm like, oh, you guys, I love it. So we tried on so many things, and so it was nice too that the two outfits that they picked for me that I do wear, that they respected. You go, hey, this is all I ask. I just want to wear royal blue. For the people that get it, they'll get it. So, they accommodated that and understood and respected. And I'm like, well, yeah, you guys, that was so nice. So that's a way my little, as long as you just kind of have your little nugget. And I think they did that for each of us, that Jay got
the salute to the
Michael got his, little I am stone. I got my blue. I don't know what Alex. Well, and then Alex really got the best airtime of any of us. But I have to say, when we were shooting that, because he had already been shooting, because I had to go and do wardrobe change, so I walked into the stage when he was already kind of mid taping, and I was like, because they'd given us the dialogue, but it was very newscaster.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and I'm like, he's brilliant, because he chose to kind of do it like a Walter Cronkite, like more of a commentary, like this is his show, and his, manipulation in a way of the material, how he ingested it and gave them more than was on the page. I'm just like, oh my God, he's so good. And, that's Alex, he's cerebral. Like, he's going to think about this and not only give them more than what they asked for, but so he deserved that. So when I was watching that, I'm like you are going to get screen time with this. That's really good. And he did. And so I was so happy for him for that, because he earned that, he deserved that, and put in the effort and got the reward, which is, it's very seldom in this business that, things are fair, or, it's not like a regular industry, like you put this in and you get that out, and after this many years, this is what you get. There's nothing linear about what we ever do. It's like you're constantly back at square one. Decades later, you're back at square one. It's like, let me get back on that treadmill one more time. And so, Alex knows that, and and that's why, he's had the opportunities that he had, and it's like, to do so much with this opportunity, that he really made the most of it. And I'm really happy for him that he got, those little nuggets on screen. And what was so neat is when we shot our day, because they had shot everything in London, and then they had to come to LA for 3 days just to do some pickup shots and new things. And Jay's son had just graduated from film school, and he's just like, hey, just throwing this out here, that if you need any more PAs, my son and they hired his son like to be a PA. So his son actually got to work on it too. So his son's very first credit, as a production assistant is on Marvel's Fantastic Four.
What a thing to have to your name. That is so cool. I was speaking to Jay about the premieres, because obviously the premieres these amazing events. And you were just obviously saying about the fact that you wish kind of had you a bit like an outside view as well as the inside view. I was quite lucky because I had both. So I went to the premiere in London and I spent maybe I watched Vanessa come down the blue carpet, so I went in, and it was a blast. It was amazing. I met Ralph, Galactus. He's amazing. His voice is.
Oh,
What was that? Sorry.
that's so neat that you got to go, that you were at that premiere.
Yeah, it was a dream come true. But yeah, I met Ralph. I met Matt. I shook Matt's hand. I got a lovely selfie with him. And we had a very quick conversation about WandaVision and Fantastic Four. I thanked him for bringing my favorite characters to life again because it means a lot to me when I see like the Fantastic Four kind of like I said getting all this love because it means that
Yeah.
I get more stuff for my little bookshelf with all of them on. I get this. I get to collect more things, and that's what I love doing. I like having this memorabilia. Um, Jay was shown off because he got a really nice cap, and I've got like as much as I possibly could get from the premiere. So I've got like coasters and these flags, and I've got a postcard that says "Hello from London" and all this stuff. I've got my ticket. My ticket's very safe. I love my ticket.
Oh, great.
But no, I adore having that experience, and I'll be ever thankful for whatever the magic miracle that it happened. But no, I loved it. We watched the exclusive footage. Because did you guys watch the full film at your premiere? Or
Yes.
I didn't.
It was at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, which is really a theater, a stage theater. So it's not a movie theater. So they had like at the beginning, they had, Kevin and Matt and Grant, and then the immediate cast up on stage and introduced them. And then they introduced and thanked, a lot of the other crew
Mm,
that was in the audience. And then the curtain opened and we thought it was going to be the film, but they had a full orchestra that then played live like music from the show. And so then we had like a little symphony concert for a while before the movie. And yeah, and then the movie started. So it was like layers upon layers. Like it just kind of kept being these secrets and surprises and like little gifts that you kind of opened as the night went through, which is also part of you go, gosh, I just wanted to go back and do it again because even just having, us together with, our little immediate families and, meeting the fans and then running into, Kevin and those guys from the movie that, yeah, I just wanted to do it because there just wasn't enough time like to really live in the
yeah.
moment because constantly like I'm watching this but listening to this and looking at that and want to go over there and it's like, oh, I just wanted it to go in slow motion
Yeah.
and just kind of fully devour every little bit of it because it was just so much going on all at once that it was exhilarating. But when you really want to kind of encapsulate and consolidate it so that you can keep it, it's like remember this, remember, and yeah, just even like the little tokens and stuff. Because even when we sat down to watch the movie, they on all of our seats they had little, like popcorn containers and a bottle of water and stuff. And then when we left, I forgot my popcorn container, and it had like the little
Oh,
logo, and I'm like, how did I forget that? But oh well.
it's you know what? I was very thankful because I got to take one of my close friends, and we spent the whole time. Obviously, I had a massive smile on my face the whole time. I've got a video where I'm walking past like the photo shoot area, and Ralph is signing things, and I'm walking past, and I do a video where I look at the camera and go, "That's Ralph," because it was such an amazing moment, and then I walk around the corner, and there's the Fantastic car, and that fantastic car is such a sleek design. I absolutely adore the fact that they didn't go for like a spaceship. They went for like a, it looks like, well, it looks like a retro, like American muscle car with the, like with the fins. And it's just, oh, it's so cool.
Yeah,
It's such a cool car. And see, you know what? It made me think of the 1960s Batmobile. That's
yeah.
kind of like the, with like the, oh, I don't want to say windshield, but the cover that goes over, yeah, and then you got the fins at the back, and it felt very Adam West. But
Yeah,
oh,
really neat.
seeing that car was like little me was screaming.
Yeah, there were just so many details in that movie that it's like you really do have to see it multiple times. I
Yeah,
mean, there it's just to the nth degree, that you almost want to like freeze frame and zoom in on. That's what's been so interesting with all of the articles. Like you're constantly, it's like a little treasure chest that you're constantly learning something new about the movie. That there was such an attention to detail that it's like, oh, now I got to go see it again. Now I got to go see it again.
ah, shame. I got so excited because I mean in America you guys got probably the best popcorn buckets and cups and stuff. Like that Galactus head is so cool. But in the UK we're not as blessed with things like this. But I've got this amazing like four-tiered popcorn bucket that could unscrew and you can have all the different members. It's really cool. And I've got the cup, and the cup is the
Oh,
Fantastic Four suit and it's like rubber and it's so cool. It's very cool.
this. This is they had it at the premiere.
No, no, no. This is when I go and watch the film. Because at the
Oh,
premiere, I didn't watch the film at the premiere. They showed us. I think it was because it was a bit before the film was due. So I think the
right.
American one was obviously what 4 days before the film came out. Where the
The 21st, yeah.
yeah, I think the London one was I think it was like the beginning of July. So obviously
Like a big festivity, but you guys didn't actually see the film.
yeah, so we had the big event where you go into the Baxter building, you're given drinks and things, and the ice cubes had fours on them, and it's so cool. And and you walk into the Baxter building, everyone's greeting each other, you've got these actors, and then you go into this massive room where the screen's gigantic, because it's the BFI IMAX cinema in Waterloo in London, and the screen's amazing. And you sit down, and I wasn't sat next to my friend, but I was sat next to two voice actors from Baldur's Gate, which was mind blowing for me because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just sat next to these people. I'm somebody, but I'm not particularly, massive. But no, the whole experience was very lovely and accommodating. And during the premiere footage is when I spotted you guys because they do the montage with all the
Oh,
circles, and I went, oh, and then after the premiere, I went straight up to my friend and went, that was the Fantastic Four. And he was like, what? I was like, that was the original Fantastic Four. And yeah, because I was a massive fan. Still am a massive fan. But it's one of those things where I got really excited and I was really excited to then share it afterwards with my friend. But no, we were really confused because I started playing the film and it was obviously just this footage. It was like extended trailer footage. So it was like scenes that people haven't seen, but not too much to spoil the film. And I loved how they did it, but I was really confused. I was like, the pacing of this film is really weird. And then it stopped, and I went, oh right, okay. We just like had like a sneak peek, and it made me so much more excited for the film. That's the reason why I'm doing this series is because I want some kind of release. That's what I want. I want Disney Plus would be great. It,
mhm.
it wouldn't hurt anyone. But the one thing I will always say is I don't want them to touch the film. I don't want them to enhance it. I don't want them to, try and do the effects or anything like that. I want them to leave it how it is. Or even have an upgraded version and then have a second one where it's like, this is the original. This is it a bit more, it's touched up a bit. It's enhanced for streaming.
Yeah, because part of it, leaving it as it is, really shows the nuts and bolts
Yeah.
of what it took to make it. The one thing that I would champion, which, Joseph keeps, hoping happens too, is that at least he can just redub his lines
Mm.
because,
Because he had the
he
mask on, didn't he?
magnificent voice that for as grandiose as his Doctor Doom is, if he has the real audio to match it as opposed to the muffled,
Mm.
uh but again, as it is, makes people somewhat appreciate it. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, like they did this with nothing. And it works. And so there's part of the beauty of it being so rough if people can keep it in perspective. Is that it's a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Even categorize it and use it to compare to the superhero movies, you just go, it's apples and oranges. It's
There you go.
not,
Yeah.
it's the same story. And it really is the incarnation that nobody else has done. And seeing ours helps make more sense of the others because you
Yeah.
go, this is where it all began. And then all the other ones kind of spin off of ours, but it's like these are real people. And even when we first get our powers, we're still just people
Yeah.
with powers that they really don't understand. And then they have to make sense of. And it's not until the very end that we actually get to use them.
Yeah.
And so it's really just like a diving board. It's just a platform to kind of, all right, now we can start the real story, which is why we loved what we did, because for us, it was, like the diving platform for the next one and the next one that we thought we would be able to
Yeah.
do, not knowing what else was in the pipeline. It was logical that you go, oh my gosh, we did so much so well with so little.
Yeah.
We were so excited for you go, when we get a budget, this is just people's mind. Our movie would have blown people's mind if we had the budget.
Yeah.
So, that would have been the biggest payoff, because everybody's like, wouldn't this have been great to have it be released? Like, to me personally, the bigger thrill than ours having been released on time when they wanted to do it, the bigger news would to be like, hey, we're going back. We're doing another one. Because that's what, meant more to me, is that now we can do it again. Now we can do it right. Now we can, really roll out the carpet of who these characters are, and let's play along and live their potential. So it was more of a reward that I was looking for, is like,
Yeah.
hey, we got to do another. So the hey, we're not being released wasn't, that was more just kind of like, like it just felt like residual of this industry. It's like, well, that happens. A lot of low budget movies never see the light of day. It wasn't like ours was just so, oh my God, this has never happened before. It's like a lot of low budget movies never see the light of day. We didn't think it would happen with ours because, Corman had a formula. You go there and there was an audience. So there was no reason for it not to. But, for me personally, it was a bigger loss that we weren't going to be able to do more. Like that's what I was excited about.
Because obviously the second one could have introduced Franklin, and it could have been another film about family. And then the third one could have even been Valeria, and you could have had the whole, the whole Fantastic Four within the Fantastic Four, and you really could have explored. I mean, with the comic accuracy of the film, you would have been unstoppable with what you could have done. Because with these costumes that looked so comic booky, I'm going to say, these are the most comic accurate suits we've got for the Fantastic Four in the 1994 film. You've got that classic royal blue with the white and then the big logo. That's very classic. The newer film obviously kind of adapted it to more of like a retro 60s style with all like the buttons and things. The 2015 films was very minimalistic with subtle hints to each character. And then obviously the 2005 and 7 films were very much just like that kind of era of super suit where it was redesigned and made its own thing. Obviously, you have to counter in like action figures and merch sales and things like this, because at the end of the day, it's a business. But with the comic accurateness of your film, it would have been endless. You could have really pushed it with, and like you said, with a budget. I mean, you think of crazy characters like Puppet Master or something like that. You could have him make people, make little voodoo clay dolls and then have people being taken over for. You could have explored so much, and it would have been. I mean, I can see it in my head. Like it would have been mental. It really would have, and it would have been brilliant. And there would have been something that is cemented in history. However, the fact that the film was never released has cemented it in history already. And I think either direction it could have gone would have. See, I say would have been good, but obviously with the unreleased film, obviously it stopped a lot of things. It like you said, it would have been amazing to have a second and third film, maybe even a fourth film, and have this massive culmination of look at these Fantastic Four films from the 90s going into like the noughties. Look at this. And with what you guys achieved with such a small budget and such a small time frame, you do think about what it could have been if there was a bigger budget and more time. The film itself is, like I said, it's a film. I absolutely adore the film, and not just as a Fantastic Four fan, but as a comic book fan, because it fits perfectly as a love letter to classic comics. You pick up a comic from that time era, and you watch that film. Like I said, it feels like it's been ripped from it. So you have this beauty that, with, like you said, with more money, with more time, could have evolved into something fantastical. And like you said as well at the start, where you guys are like your characters in the film, the characters are also like you.
Yeah.
It's that same kind of thing where you connect to them, but those characters could connect to you, and that's the beauty of it. That's the great part about these superheroes is people look at people like Superman, and it's like, yeah, but you might not be able to fly around and shoot lasers at your eyes, but you can be kind. You can be accepting. You can love whoever. It's this beautiful thing where there's something human about every single superhero. And there's a touch of humanity in all these characters that you think, oh my gosh, this character is absolutely crazy. I could never be like this. It's like, no, but you could. You might not have their superpowers, but you could be like them, like Sue, where Sue Storm is like the glue of the Fantastic Four. She keeps them all together. She keeps them all, you know, making sure they're all okay. And she's like the mother in a sense, And Reed is very much like the dad. He thinks about everything. He overthinks about everything. He wants what's best for his family, And then Ben's very much like the uncle that you go to if you've got a problem, and then Johnny's very much the uncle you go to if you want to have a bit of fun. And there's this, like we keep saying, there's this family element where you can really look at it and think, well, that's a bit like my family. And
Yeah.
then you think, you could be one of the Fantastic Four. You don't have to have a superpower to be like them. It what I love is somebody put Reed's superpower isn't stretching. Reed's superpower is his brain. The
Yeah.
stretching is something he just uses. And I love that because it's true. It's true.
That's very true. One of the real organic moments of our film that I just love, that I mean, it was so touching at the time, like the scene where Sue shows up and, I have the suits for everyone. And then Johnny's like, well, it's more like the Fantastic Three because, Ben slash the Thing is off somewhere and we don't know where he is and he's
Mm.
coming back. And when we were just, we didn't have any time for like rehearsal or really even blocking. And so right before, when we were just getting ready to tape that scene, and then, the Thing walks in, and I just like see him and run and put my arms around him and jump. And, you just go, that was not planned or blocked. It was just like,
That
well,
was a
what?
reaction.
It's just organic because he walks in, we're talking about him. I see him, and it was just so, and we're like, all right, that's what we're doing, because it just came out of reality. You
It's
go, oh,
natural, yeah.
now right after that is when, we taped the hand thing that they did. And so I feel like that moment in that film was absolute organic, because
Yeah.
you say, oh, that's like when you're best friend and we're reunited, and it's like that always gets me in the movie. And you go, that wasn't written like that. It wasn't planned. It just kind of like we were shooting it. It's like, okay,
Came
go.
out.
And then he comes in, like, what else would you do? You just do what you're going to do in real life. And it's like those little things, those little nuggets that people might not know. You go, that was as real could be. It just,
Yeah.
it just,
I think that's beautiful. You know, they're having these organic reactions in a film where, you know, you've got these super suits on and you know, you turn invisible and shoot fire out your hands and things like this. It's beautiful. It really is.
You know, it's afterwards it's all like, oh, costumes and fun, and it is. We get to play. We get to play.
Mhm.
They're called players for a reason. And it was when we were shooting, like we have the spacesuits on and we're out in the desert, after we crashed. And technically, as we're physically going through the day, at some point, we have to, you spend a lot of time waiting for them to set this up or wait for the light to come or wait for the light to fade. And the other real organic moment is when we're in our spacesuits and we're sitting around the fire. And it's a real touching moment for the four because they're trying to figure out what happened. But just the four of us as actors and friends sitting in these cute little spacesuits, like out in the middle of the desert under the sky with the fire. And Alex is like, this is the dream. Like, this is like, we get to play. Like, this is not even job. This is not working. Like, we get to play. We get to sit here in the dark in spacesuits with each other around a fire. Like, does it get any better than that? And that's when you kind of realize as a person and as an actor, and like there's like a real gift, a treat, a sweet that comes out of moments like that you hope when people watch the scene, like we can't directly translate,
But it's
but
there.
it's like that was one of those moments you go as an actor, it's like, yeah, it's fun to dress up and play.
Yeah,
So
100%.
there was a lot of that, like even the stuff in the hazmat suits, and you get to run and dive and fall down. It's fun. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? So for us to like play superheroes, it's like this is going to be so much fun. That we had so much fun playing, just playing.
Yeah.
Playing the part, but it's
Yeah.
all really cool. We'll always have this.
We'll always have this, exactly. And you guys will always have your film. There'll always be that film that's there. And it's such a beautiful thing. But Rebecca, it's been absolutely lovely having you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're just going to keep trading thank yous back and forth.
Right. It's been amazing.
It's fun to like to relive all of this, because that's what keeps it alive. So every time we talk about it, it's just it keeps it alive. So thank you for that nurturing, something that you love and we love, and sharing it so that other people out there can feel that same kind of enthusiasm.
You summed it up perfectly. Thanks so much. Bye-bye, Rebecca.
Appreciate you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.